Jones barbecue foot massage. Jones barbecue foot.
Welcome to the 7th episode of the MP3Cast, a show where three friends talk about an album one of us picked, any genre, any year of release. I'm Jonny. With me, as always, is Scaffo.
Hey there.
And Patricio.
Hello.
This week was my pick, and I chose Chance the Rapper's mixtape, 10 Day. This was Chance's first full-length project, and it was released in 2012, when he was 19. And it's centered around his suspension from high school and just his overall experience growing up in high school. Growing up in Chicago, I meant, not high school. But...
Well, you grew up in high school, too.
Well, yeah. But...
Debatably.
Yeah, it is. We'll see on some of these tracks. Maybe you don't. But let's get right into the discussion, going through song by song, but starting with the album art. I really like this.
Yeah, it's really visually pleasing. It's eye-catching. I like the sort of like hand-drawn effect they have on Chance himself.
Yeah. And then the like comic book style box that with his MC name on it, Chance the Rapper.
Yeah, for sure.
And also the clouds are again visually pleasing, but if you look above, it looks like that's more like a Polaroid picture flare, or like maybe it is like a like something physical. It doesn't look like it's part of a picture. Like there's like a flare or reflection on the top. So, and I really do, like TJ said, I really do enjoy the hand-drawn style. Yeah. I couldn't tell if it was a picture or if it was like oil painted.
I think it's a picture with some effects thrown on top of it.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
I figured that too. It was pretty realistic, but
I also like how he's got his head in the clouds, you know, that idea where he's still young and optimistic and he's not really been pulled down to earth yet. And
definitely
he's like looking up at all the possibilities, you know, that sort of theme.
Yeah, I definitely think this is one of the stronger album arts we've had for any album on this cast.
Yeah, which is ironic because it's not an album.
But I'm not a rapper.
But chances. Alright, well, let's get right into the discussion of the songs then. The first track is 14,400 Minutes.
Damn, they gon' resent it. Who you representing? A class of bad kids, 14,400 minutes.
I really enjoy this track. I'm a sucker for songs like this where it's all about the bars. There's no hook or anything. It's just the rapper spitting for 2 minutes, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I am admittedly not that into hooks in general, and I really do appreciate anything without a hook. And the standout part to me was actually the production. I really like the production on this track.
Yeah, I love the horns in the background.
This whole album makes great use of horns, just in general.
Yeah.
It gives it a very chill vibe for most of the album. It's not super aggressive or hard. A lot of rap, especially rap that I like, is usually very aggressive, and this is like the most chill album I've probably listened to in a while.
Really?
Oh, rap album, which we'll discuss about my thoughts about how rap this is. But yeah, this is a very... I love this intro, and like you guys said, most people are a fan of hooks and stuff, and I'm fine with them, but without it is just as good.
Yeah. I also do like this as an intro track. It gives great context for the rest of the album.
Mm-hmm. And the title, 14,400 Minutes, is how many minutes there are in 10 days, which is the length of his suspension. So, introduces
that
that
was cool.
theme.
Yeah. I thought the flow fell offbeat sometimes, but he brings it right back in, which is something that you see throughout the album. It can be offbeat sometimes, but he makes it work pretty well. And I think this is a good opening track to show his lyrical ability as well.
Yeah, he's got tons of internal rhyming and just everything sounds like it goes together.
Yeah.
I think this song does it as one of the best for this album.
There is
Go ahead.
something shown here, though, that shows up all throughout this album is that his verses, while they sound good, they have tons of internal rhyming. They're not always usually about something. They're not telling a story, which I think makes it easier to write like this, you know, when you're not trying to make one cohesive thought, when you're just... It's like MF Doom. A lot of his tracks, he does have some tracks like that, but a lot of his are just like flex verses, you know?
Yeah.
But that allows him to show off his insane ability to rhyme and write bars, so...
There's
Yeah,
a couple songs on here that do that.
Yeah, I definitely don't feel like every song needs to be telling a story. While that's definitely impressive, having some flex bars is just fine by me. I'm into it.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the next track, Missing You.
I don't know why I sleep with my eyes wide, hoping that I find you.
Which
No,
is...
it's switched on YouTube. Sorry, 1 second. There we go.
It's a pretty big change in style right out the gate, and I like that it shows his versatility immediately. Because
Definitely.
this song isn't all about the bars. He has a couple good verses, but the delivery is so different. It's not just flex bars, you know?
Yeah. And I do... one of the highlight parts of this track for me was the outro. I thought it really tied the song together thematically.
Yeah, when you get that beat switch, you get the sample line that says, now it's time for something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes into just Chance singing.
That was... sorry, go ahead.
I really like Chance's singing voice. It's not a quote-unquote good singing voice necessarily. He's definitely competent at it, but it's like it's unfiltered and it's raw, and it helps emotional punches hit harder, in my opinion.
Definitely. I feel like I kind of feel the same way about his voice as I do about Kanye's singing voice. They both they aren't necessarily good, but they are definitely emotionally poignant when they're used.
It's usually more effective for an artist to use their own voice to me than to use all features. I mean, if their voice is half decent, and he definitely uses it more, and that's where I'll discuss later on about how much of this album is rap versus something else. As far as this song, though, I thought the verses were actually extremely strong and one of the strongest of the album / mixtape. Even though his delivery was very slurred sometimes, especially toward the end of the second one, I actually understood pretty much everything he said the first time listening through.
He does a good job of adding that style to his rhymes while still making it understandable, you know?
Mm.
But I feel like all throughout this album, he understands how his voice sounds very well, and he can play with it and play into his natural voice with different styles.
You can definitely tell that he's been, even though this is like his first full-length mixtape, he's been doing this a while. He understands what he's working with.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's not exactly even about the voice, it's about the delivery. And but I'm not a fan of the slurring, honestly, in like almost any music. But lyrically, I mean, him talking about the senseless killing and just some of the lines in here are, while they're not overly complex, they are very upfront and forward about the crime that he grew up around, especially in Chicago. I mean, that's definitely... And the outro is also nice, but to me, even though it is nice, it feels slightly out of place. That's just me, though.
Interesting.
All right, well, let's move on to the third track, Nostalgia.
Heads bow, eyes shut, time to play 7-Up. Heads bow, hands clutch, bottles gone, heavens up. Smile comes through, though my eyes might cry when they reminisce over you, my God.
Now, this is actually the only track I know for sure was recorded while he was, I believe, 16 or 17. This track was recorded. It first appeared on a earlier EP mixtape thing called the Back to School Pack with his group at the time, Instrumentality. So
Interesting. I didn't know that. I really, really like the hook on this track. It's packed with a lot of emotion.
yeah, it, like I said before about his singing, it's not necessarily perfect, but it just sounds like it's very emotional, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that chorus is just, it's a beautifully sung, even if it's not quote unquote beautiful, his voice, it's just well done. And even though it's like a little bit in the left ear and a little bit off center, it's still very upfront and clear. But the verses tend to be pretty buried in the mix when I think it's a recorder is playing.
I think that's a flute.
Is it a flute? Okay. I guess I'm bad at picking out instruments. I wish the vocals, the verses were a little bit higher in the mix, like the chorus is. Just a little bit.
I don't know. I kind of do like how the sort of low-key production isn't too background. Kind of like he's swimming in this nostalgic feeling that the production brings.
Whether it's intentional or just as a result of being recorded in a different environment, this song has a more lo-fi feel to me. Like it's lower quality recording all across the board. But I think that plays into the theme of the song really well.
Exactly.
And enhances it.
I think so too. And that's not an issue for me. I just like to hear rappers' verses and vocals a little more clearly instead of having it behind. Again, it's fine for most of the song, but when, like you said, the flute, I guess it's a flute, when that kicks in, it's a little heavy for me. But as a song, I think it's really well done. It's obviously just a song about his childhood. And also, did you guys catch the When They Reminisce tribute to Pete Rock and CL Smooth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was a good addition because that song has the same sort of vibe.
I actually didn't know about that song. I recognize this from a Kanye song where he, I guess, references the same thing.
I also can't imagine anyone else performing this track. I feel like this was tailored for Chance's voice, you know?
Yeah, I can agree with that. He knows how he sounds, he knows his voice, and he is good at writing for it and understanding how it's going to come out on a track. All right, well, let's move on to the fourth track then, Windows.
Heaven's gates look a lot like prison from the app. We on the ground yelling, get my nigga back.
Another change of pace, going from that sad, low-key song to what feels like a single. It's a party track, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like the intro to this track is really important in that sort of mood switch, because it starts off like kind of calm and it builds up pretty quick, but I feel like it's a nice way to segue into it.
Yeah, how he starts off with his lower volume delivery and then he builds up to hit the line where he says, throwing shit down in the street, that shouts to the Ave, where he's actually shouting.
Mm-hmm.
That build-up really helps you transition into this song from the last one.
Definitely.
It really makes you kind of feel like they're just cruising around in like a car, getting high or something, just having fun. And even though this song discusses like death and some of the topics of the last few songs, it's a very upbeat vibe. But this is kind of where I started noticing a theme of like unclear delivery sometimes, and mix of like singing rap, which I didn't necessarily like or dislike. It just became very clear here.
Yeah, it's like that. R&B rap merger, you know? He's got his sing-songy delivery for a lot of lines.
Definitely.
But I actually think that I really like that. I think it just sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. I also really like the hook on this track.
Yeah.
It definitely captures this sort of feeling that this neighborhood he lives in is, you know, a nice place. He likes being here.
Yeah. And what you were talking about earlier, Patricio, with sometimes it's good to have guests singing the hook. Sometimes it's good to sing it yourself. I feel like this song works much better with the Kenya Seymour. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but her singing the hook really.
Well, he's on it too.
Yeah, but it's mostly.
No, it's mostly her, and yeah, I know. I think that it's a good addition, and I think the verse from who is it? Alex Wiley, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was a good addition, and his verse was fitting and fine. There was nothing special, but at the same time, it held its weight. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Most of the time, I feel like, I'm not really that into features. Most of the time, I think they kind of detract from a track, but this one felt like it fit. It was pretty decent.
Yeah, it didn't. It fit with the theme of the song. And this isn't a song that's hard to fit a verse into, you know? If you have a really emotional and personal song and you try and put a feature verse on that, then that can be really weak and really detract. But
Definitely.
here this verse fits in with this song. And going back to the hook real quick, I feel like Chance's singing on the hook sounds like he's singing along to this while he's riding around the neighborhood, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, now that you mention it, that's definitely what it sounds like. I like that.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's kind of the point. As a whole, I wasn't really feeling this song, but I thought it fit this album for sure. I don't know if I should even call it an album.
What weren't you feeling about it? Was it just the sing-songy rapping, or?
Yeah, ish, and even a lot of, I think there were songs on here that were better laid back, chill songs and like fun songs. Just it as a whole just kind of felt a little lacking to me, and also some of the lyrical content was fine, and then some of it wasn't. Some of it was kind of hollow. So I mean, and again, that's something we'll explore a little bit more. But I mean, it wasn't awful.
I agree with the hollow part, but I don't feel like that detracts from the verses too much, because this song isn't trying to be deep or, you know, tell us super interesting story. It's just about hanging out with your friends and having a good time. So that didn't bother me.
So when I say stuff like that, I don't mean it in like exactly a negative way. I mean it's more as a personal preference. Okay. Because some people are more into the vibe of songs, some people are more into the lyrics, some people are more into storytelling, some are into delivery. For me personally, the vibe of a song, while it matters, the more upbeat vibe of it didn't hold my attention enough to compensate for some of the lackluster parts for me. Not that it's necessarily a bad song, I just didn't particularly like listening to it.
All right.
I know that I think one of you isn't really that into synths, just in general. What did you think of the synths? Oh, okay. What did you think of the synths on this beat?
I didn't really notice them.
Yeah, me neither, honestly.
Interesting. I picked them out because I really like the synths. I think they're used really well here.
I like the production of this song, but I don't feel like I don't notice it so much, and that's fine with this song, you know?
All right.
To me, anyway. All right, well, the next track, one of the standouts for me, is Brain Cells, the 5th track.
But I'ma let the bull pass like matadors. Versus a minotaur, versus a metaphor. Metamorphoses, and I'm a fucking animal.
Can we all agree this is just about getting high and the effects of it, right? We're all
100%.
There's nothing deeper here? Okay.
Yeah. That being said, the laid back production really fits that theme.
This song was produced by Peter Cottontail, which Chance would go on to work on a lot of his beats throughout all 3 of his mixtapes.
Okay.
But yeah, they work really well together, and especially on this song, the laid back production.
Yeah, I feel like consistently throughout this album, the production really fits the theme.
Yeah.
But that being said, this song just, I really like listening to it. It feels good to listen to. It's laid back, it's chill. I really like the flow all throughout. There's some fun rhyme schemes going on.
Yeah, this
just,
has my favorite set of bars on this entire album when he says, "But I'ma let the bull pass like matadors versus a minotaur versus a metaphor, metamorphoses, and I'm a fucking anamorph." I really love those 3 bars.
Yeah, definitely.
It really shows off how he can, like, because it's cohesive. It makes sense. It's not just him saying words, but all the words just...
I caught that too. Actually, you know what? You go ahead, Scaffle. You go first.
Oh, I didn't have anything to add there.
Sorry. Okay, I thought you were going to. I think this is a better version, and well, even though it's not the same topic, what I was referring to is I think this is a better song than the last one with the same type of idea. Lyrically, it's fun. It plays around with a lot, but a lot of it's not cohesive. And I think a part of it is him just trying to have fun on it and just see what he could do, and see how it would sound. But also some of it sounds like high thoughts.
Yeah. It sounds like just stream of consciousness while he's sitting back smoking, you know?
Exactly. I mean, and it's all very chill. The first verse especially is very chill. The whole song didn't really make a bunch of sense, and it was just a tangent of thoughts, rhyme schemes. And lyrically, I am not feeling it for that reason, but I think the delivery was great. The chorus was perfectly fine, and it had a great vibe to it that I liked more than the last one. This is one where the vibe does take over more, and I'm fine with it.
I take issue with you saying that you don't like the lyrics. I love the bars on this track. I think it's some of Chance's best lyricism on this album, at least.
Let me compare it to someone else. Eminem does the same thing sometimes. Sometimes he's very coherent. He makes sense. He goes straight through. You can understand exactly what he's talking about. But there's other times where he's just showing off, and he's not flexing his money. He's not flexing power. He's not flexing who he is. He's flexing lyrical ability to rhyme this with that, make this sound good. This goes fast. This goes well. And that's what Chance is doing here. Not that it's any less than other lyrics, but when I say I don't like it lyrically, I mean literally about the subject matter and the way that it doesn't flow with each other. I don't care for that, but that doesn't mean I like it less in a different way. I think it's fine how it's written, and I wouldn't change it, especially for the song.
I could argue with you about this for a minute, but I don't think it's worth it, you know? It's just personal preference, but I disagree.
Your preference is wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I figured that would happen today.
But I like the hook. It goes well with the laid back tone of the song, you know? It's
definitely, especially simple. Like the lead up to the hook. He's just messing around and he's laughing about it. He's having a good time.
Yeah.
There's like a 95% chance he was smoking during this.
Yeah, well,
I'd say 105%.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not sure if you guys picked up on this. On the beat, especially during like lyrical breaks, there's this sort of high pitched sound, and I could not place what it was. Do you guys have any idea?
I
don't know what you're talking about.
Pick up on that.
Huh. Okay. I paid a lot of attention to the production on this album, so I'll probably be bringing up a bunch of things like that.
Yeah.
I don't tend to pay attention to production as much on rap albums.
Yeah. If it's standout production, I'll usually notice it, but if it's just... I hate saying that because I do feel like a lot of the production on this album is standout, but even still, I'm more likely to focus on the rapper than I am the production. You know what I mean?
All right. I mean, you both are more lyrically driven anyway than I am, so that makes sense.
I think me and you are like on opposite spectrums here, and Johnny's
Yeah,
like
I
dead in
think
the
so.
middle.
But you're both
Yeah.
definitely on a spectrum.
Oh.
Wow.
All right, well, moving on to the next track, Long Time.
Calling out to God, you little angels falling down. Save me from my darkened cloud. Reach your hands and arms around.
This one is
I-
definitely a
Go
different
ahead.
feel than any of the other tracks on the album so far, and I really like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I feel like the delivery throughout this entire song switches up quite a bit, and it keeps it really sonically interesting.
Yeah.
It's definitely a more emotional song on here. And there's a couple songs on this album mixtape that are emotional, and one of them is part 2 of this. But it's even toward the end. I mean, the first 2 verses go through really quick, but even toward the end with the bridge and the hook, it's a very emotional, and you feel for him. You know, you feel for his family.
Yeah, definitely.
I really like
I
in
do. Go ahead.
I really like in the first verse the delivery he uses, how it's just like him shouting about this. It conveys a lot of emotion, and it really makes you feel what he's trying to convey, you know.
Definitely. And I think it's at the end of the second verse when he sort of trails off and there's the crashing sound. And then the like sample from the old French movie. I really like that sort of transition.
Yeah.
I had to look up what that meant.
I don't think that's really important, you know. I feel like it just sounds good and that's why it's in there. And what does the meaning of it fit with the song?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah.
I think we should really quick just clarify what it is. The French, it's like a little clip from I think a 50s, 60s French movie.
1936 French
36.
film.
That's
La Bête Humaine.
Okay. But the man wants to have sex with this woman, and the woman's like, "What? We aren't even at home. What do you mean?" And he's like, "Come on, let's just do it." And she's like, "No." She's like disgusted with him. Doesn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, see, I feel like its meaning doesn't really have much, doesn't make sense in the song, you know. That's not why it's here. It just sounds
agree.
good, and the emotion
It
conveyed
fits the beat.
fits with the song, you know, just in their delivery.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the first versus second verse? Which one did you prefer more?
Probably the first
Personally-
verse, because
Interesting.
like
Whoa.
when he's talking about you don't think I felt your hand on my head yelling call his father, like just the content of the verse is more cohesive, and like him talking about his grandma, you know. That's how I feel anyway.
That's where I sat at that too. And the whole first verse just talking about Aaron talking about dropping pounds, getting small and stuff, and that, I mean, and talking about overdosing. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty hard stuff there.
Definitely.
TJ seemed to disagree though.
Yeah.
Well, I really do like the first verse. I think overall the first verse is better, but the last 4 lines of the second verse just punch so hard,
Yes.
and it's like the standout part of the track and one of my favorite points on the entire album.
Yeah, when I agree with that, but over
I agree too.
bar for bar, verse 1 is better, but those last 4 lines on verse 2, it's almost not even rapping at that point. It's just him singing, you know? And
Yeah.
he's doing what he says. He says he's calling out to God, and that's what it sounds like, you know?
Exactly.
He's just like crying for help.
And that's where this song takes over emotionally for me, and it makes it one of the best songs on this, just because of that pure emotion, where sometimes it feels like emotion's lacking on this.
Yeah.
It definitely stands out.
I really like the sampled hook. I'll add that,
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to it later on with part 2, but I do really enjoy the sample he uses for that. But for now, let's move on to 22 Offs.
I was off campus, but the officer told the office that he saw me from the parking lot.
This is just sort of a gimmick track, It's fine for what it is, but it's just to break up the pace, to get you out of that hard-hitting emotional song, back into the vibe of the album.
Definitely. I do want to say it bothered me because I wanted to find 22 offs, like the word off,
Yeah.
in the lyrics. There were 19 offs.
Are you sure?
But-
Is that including all the other stuff?
Oh, that's just the word off. If you
Okay.
include like officer, things like that, there's 25.
Oh,
I was really bothered by that.
Well, the name actually doesn't come from the number of times he says off. He samples a track by Flying Lotus here called Track 2, I think. So that's where Track 2 is the name of the beat.
I'm glad you did that research for us, though. You're the hero we need.
Yeah.
I thought the song as a whole was kind of whack. I mean, the beat I didn't really care about, and yeah, it was more of a gimmick song, and it breaks it up, but it would have been better as like a freestyle or something, I thought. I just didn't think it suited this album as a whole. I don't know.
I feel
wasn't
like
really
it
feeling
kind of was a freestyle, Like, at the end, I'm not saying it was literally off the top of his head, but that's what it feels like. It's just a laid-back song where he's just spitting some bars in the studio,
For sure. That's what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like it is a freestyle. Sorry, let me clarify. I felt like it is rather than like a song that fit on here,
Okay.
Like if they put parentheses freestyle, it would have made more sense to me.
I see. Okay. I do think the production here it's vastly different than the rest of the album, really. The production's kind of weird here.
That's Flying Lotus for you. Flying Lotus is, I
Yeah.
really like his production, but it's weird. So
For sure.
it doesn't really fit when you just take a Flying Lotus track and put it on your album. I will say this song, it does not, I agree with you, it doesn't really fit in the album. I do like how it affects the pacing of the album, how it switches the vibe up, but,
Yeah.
and it's short enough to where it doesn't bother me. It doesn't overstay its welcome. If it was like even just 2 minutes long, I might not.
Definitely.
I might be more offended by it, but it's a minute 40 seconds, And his rapping,
Yeah.
while not stellar, it's serviceable and it's enjoyable enough.
It's good enough. Let's go with that.
Yeah, I agree. As just a last note, if you ever get the chance, when I'm looking at lyrics while we're listening to albums, I go on Genius, I don't click anything, except if it's green, because that means verified artist
Yeah.
did something on this. The last line of this, he has some like 5-second clip that he put as the explanation for the last line. I have no idea what it is, but it's hilarious, and you should look it up.
Yeah.
I noticed that too. I didn't click on it though.
Chance used to do that a lot back in the Rap Genius days before it was just genius.com with
Yeah.
10 Day and Acid Rap before he really blew up with Color.
When did this come out?
2012.
2012? Yeah.
Okay.
He was 19 at the time, so just a little young.
I want to point out that he's really funny. Just not even on the album, but I just watched Wildin' Out again recently. Like I've been watching it, and he's super funny. Like when he's on there, just as a person. Like anytime. Yeah,
I do think
he's
he has
super
some
funny.
funny parts on this album. Definitely more so on his next album. But yeah, he seems like a really funny guy.
All right. Well, the 8th track, moving on from 22 Offs, is You Got Me Fucked Up.
This ain't no game, ain't shit here funny. You got me fucked up, fucking with my mind.
This is definitely like a flex song. That being said, the rhyme scheme, especially in the second verse, is nutty. I'm about it. I really like it.
The first verse is okay to me, you know? He's mostly just like referencing the people that he's working with on this track, as opposed to saying anything in the first verse. You know, it's just like like I said, stream of consciousness, you know, just him saying stuff that sounds good together. But then the second verse is on another level.
For sure. I also think the hook on this track is tons of fun. I really do like it, the delivery and how it feels.
Yeah, with the song name and like the lyrical content of the hook, you expect it to be more aggressive and in-your-face delivery, but it's really just him, you know, leaning back, talking shit, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are about to disagree with me super hard here.
Okay.
I thought the chorus was fine. I actually like it a lot. One of the better ones for sure. It's fun. It's well produced. The beat's okay. You know, it's chill. It's fine. Production's fine. Voice lays perfectly in the mix. Everything sounds good. I just don't like the delivery. His voice kind of pissed me off here. Not pissed me off. It was annoying, and I thought the second verse made it worse. When he's business so savvy no spendy, drifty so empty, city so windy. Like, I don't know. While it is technically wordplay, that's on another level of like not making sense. It's like when Nicki Minaj will say like the punchline before she says the setup. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. There's no coherence. There's no build up. It's just random thoughts spread together, which is fine. I just personally don't care.
You're
for
so
as much.
wrong. Wavy so wavy, trending I'm trendy. He's saying he's fresh, he's dressed well, he's styled.
I understand.
Spended these pennies mommy done gave me. He's saying he did it with no money. He's part of a group called Save Money, so that's a theme and something he brings up in a lot of his songs. Business so savvy, savvy no spendy. He's just talking about how he doesn't need a lot of money to be this fresh. He's doing it on a budget.
I understand.
It's not just him saying nothing, though. You said it's just stream of consciousness doesn't make any sense at all, but it is a coherent thought. Those 3 lines you cited.
Okay, while they are coherent thoughts, I am saying they feel like they're segments of thoughts rather than like an actual thought. And yes, while you can understand what he is trying to get across and what he's trying to say, I'm going to compare it to a kid trying to form a sentence. While you can understand what they're trying to say, it's not a full sentence. And to me, the song was a lot of, I understand what he is saying, understand what he's getting at. I just didn't care for how it was done. That's all. It's a personal thing. It's not a slight. It's just a personal thing.
Do you feel that way because a lot of the rhymes in the beginning of this have the sort of E sound at the end of the word?
No, it has nothing to do with the way the rhyme scheme is done. It has nothing to do with delivery. And even though, you know, I thought the delivery on this was okay, other than, again, his voice was a little annoying to me. It was a little more high pitch. It has nothing to do with the way things are rhymed. It has nothing to do with the delivery. It just has to do with, okay, I guess it would be a little bit delivery. It's kind of like how you guys will sometimes hear me complain about some stuff that's on the radio where it feels, again, hollow. It feels like it's not a coherent thought. It's bum 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 bum, and it's not like there's no straight verse, there's no actual sentence structure. It is like 3 or 4 words that are their own independent sentences placed one on top of another. While it's not necessarily bad, I personally just didn't feel it. That's all.
All right, but you're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. Like, I love his wordplay on this, like, sentence so gavel, wordplay so scrabble, chance to split atoms, slit atom apples. Yeah, you might be right, it's not really a coherent sentence, it's kind of just thoughts, but when you can create rhyme schemes like that in wordplay and stuff like that, who cares?
That's what I'm saying. It's not about the wordplay or how it sounds, how it comes off. And again, if we were doing an Eminem album, I would say the exact same thing depending on which album it is. I love Eminem like probably more than most artists. So it's not like a like or dislike of or a measure of their skill. But okay, let's go back to that. Sentence so gavel, wordplay so scrabble. I mean, that while it holds and while it sounds good while it's being delivered, when you're reading those lyrics, they don't mean anything to me other than like, yeah, okay, your wordplay's good. I got it. Okay. Chances split Adam's apple. I get it. It sounds good. It works on a track. And sometimes that's all that matters. I personally, though, reading these lyrics, didn't care for it lyrically. I mean, there's fun party songs out there, or, like G-Funk or crunk songs that when you look at the lyrics, you're like, these lyrics are fucking shit, but they're a good song. So, I mean, it's not about how the song sounds. I'm just saying lyrically, not feeling it.
We've been on this long enough. You're wrong. Next song is Family.
Stand in the land where the fam stay. Grind all day till the fam okay. There's still one more to hear my grandma play. For the fam and my friends when my mans go away.
Featuring Vit Cabenza and Suleiman, two members of Chance's group Save Money. Not really a group, just like a collective, I guess. But
Okay. First thing I want to point out, the first feature I liked. I thought it was great. The second feature blows. It's so bad. I hate it.
Yes.
I wish it wasn't on the album.
I agree with that. It's really doesn't stand up because this is one of my favorite songs on the album. I love Chance's verse. I love Vic dropping into they're like childhood friends, There's a lot of subtext going on there. Suleiman is just like some guy as far as I'm concerned, and his verse sucks. It's like this song would be airtight if that verse was taken out.
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind that verse. I guess I'm
Interesting.
just destined to not agree with you guys. I actually thought that verse was fine and held weight. This is definitely one of the better songs on the track, I think. I loved the sample and the instrumental right off the bat. The production and mixing's on point, and the hook is wonderful. The verses are all solid. He's not really rapping, he's singing, and Chance himself in this track, but he even addresses that, and I think he did it really well.
Yeah, I do really like the production on this track, and the build-up towards the end is spectacular.
Yeah. The hook is stand out to me, which is surprising because most of the time I don't really like hooks, but on this track specifically, the hook is fantastic. I love the layered Chance vocals giving that like chorus-like effect, and
It
especially
was perfectly recorded.
yeah, especially the like outro where they sing the chorus a few times with Vic in there too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emotion in it too, You really get the sense that they are a family,
Definitely. I completely agree. The hook was great. I also really like the sample that's used. It's really fitting. I like it.
Can you remind me what this sample is?
I got you. Hold on. I don't remember. I wrote it down, though.
Yeah, I forget what the exact words are.
When is it used?
Nah, I didn't write it down.
It's used
It's
a
at the
lot
beginning.
in the sort of intro and like interludes between verses and chorus.
It's part of the beat.
Oh,
I don't know who
I
it's
only
sampled
hear
by,
my
though.
radio, that part. I
There you
remember
go.
now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I really like that too.
So, lyrically, now good to bring the antithesis of the last song, I think he did a lot better on this one. And this is more of when I think he shines more. When he goes, sing all you want, just don't drake on the ass, show you got drive, don't turn fake on the ass. And then he goes, good morning, good raps, good morning, good luck. Tomorrow you could blow, or tonight you could blow, tomorrow you could suck. I thought that was a big step up from the last song. And I think this is where he kind of shines lyrically in songs like this. And I thought it was wonderful. Perfect. I have no complaints about the song, actually.
Yeah. Continuing on from exactly where you left off, this shows his versatility and how he can change up his flow on the fly constantly. He goes from good morning, good raps, good morrow, good luck, tonight you could blow, tomorrow you suck, to the almost Hispanic delivery with Bizarro My Caro, I borrowed from Truck a new SLR and Ferraro Deluxe. How he like rolls his R's and like changes up his delivery. That's my favorite thing about Chance is how he delivers his lines, you know, how he can switch it up constantly and still
Definitely.
And
tons of
when he goes young kid rappers, kidnappers, young whippersnapper that will whip past you, like that is lyrically on point, but also sonically on point. And definitely one of his better verses. And I thought the guest verses were perfectly fine, but I wish he would have done all three just because I thought the song was so good.
I really like Vic's verse, the opening verse. I think it really fits on the track. Vic's delivery is more low-key too, and I feel like it is a better intro verse to start out the track than Chance's verse. I don't know. I really like the Vic feature here, though. I don't know. Felt like there was enough Chance. This song was more about his hook, his singing than his rapping, I felt.
It was. That's not a complaint of like, oh, why didn't you do this? It's just like, it was such a well done song. I thought that like his verse, like, you know, when sometimes a person's verse ends, you're like, no, I wish there was more. It was kind of like that.
Okay.
It was a good thing.
Definitely.
You guys, I don't want you guys to think that I hate Chance or like this album. I definitely like it. It's just I have issues with some songs and some delivery. But other ones are great the other way.
Definitely. I've heard that some people, especially the like ad-libs that he is well known for, some people really don't feel it and think it's annoying. So I can see if he's doing something similar to that with his voice, I can see someone not really being into it.
Yeah, most of my favorite rappers and artists tend to have unique voices, and I think Chance definitely has a very unique voice too. So that can be polarizing. If you don't like their voice, you're not going to like any of their songs really, you know? Or at least they're going to annoy you a lot with their songs.
The voice definitely matters, and hip hop and rap music, as it's one of the most important parts.
Yeah. But all right, seems like we're all in agreement about that track. Let's move on to the next one. Juke.
This hook is ass.
The whole song,
I hate this hook.
Man.
Yeah, this song is easily the worst. It's such a low point.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed.
I like this sample. I mean, the sample I was using Big Papa from Notorious Big, and also before that, Between the Sheets by the Isley Brothers. It's a good sample.
Yeah, but it's juke music, and I don't like juke music. Chance has one juke track on each of his mixtapes. You can argue that the juke
worst.
Yeah, you can argue that the juke track on Coloring Book isn't really a juke track, but it has juke in the name. But this one specifically is just not good.
Yeah,
I didn't like it either. The flow's fine, lyrics are okay, but I just don't like the song as a whole.
I don't think Chance should make juke music. He obviously likes it. I don't. It's kind of a Chicago thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's also in New Orleans. It's not just Chicago. But I'm not big into that, like, you know, just dance music, put you in a trance, repeat one word over and over, stuff like that. You know? I'm not big into that. So this song really doesn't do it for me. This ain't it, Chief.
I don't know. It's not really that sort of, like, one repeated word trancey sort of aspect that really makes it bad for me. Because there's some music that does that well. Yeah. But this just isn't it. Delete the song.
I can only think of, like, it done well would be like Lil Jon music. Like, it's not, like, good. But, like, the same thing repeated over and over turns out pretty well. And this, I don't think is, I think this is, like, when it doesn't go well. Can we move on?
Yeah, I guess. All right. The next song is a Fuck You Tahm Bout. Which is Teen Angst the song, dude. I love it. I think this track is hilarious, personally.
Yeah, it's funny. I like that the production is like significantly heavier than anything else on the album.
Yep.
That being said, the sort of na-na that Chance is doing on the chorus, normally I don't have a problem with that sort of
It's
thing
annoying
he
though,
does.
right? It
Yeah,
doesn't add up
it's
here.
annoying on this track, I agree.
Okay, 100% agree. Cool. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Also the second verse, the rhymes were pretty weak.
Is the second verse the
I
one
had
with
to- I
the
had to go look.
screwdriver line, dude? Where's that one? The screwdriver line cracks me up. I'll stab you with the screwdriver. That shit ain't even rhyme. I'm fucked up.
Yeah,
out
that's
my
the
mind.
one.
Dude. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
See, that line specifically made me think of Hobson, and I'm not the biggest fan of that man.
I can
But it's
if this was every Chance song, I would not like Chance. That's Hobson's
Yeah.
problem. This is a one-off track, completely
think
different from every other song, even just on this album, let alone his whole discography. Makes this hilarious.
I agree, it's hilarious. That being said, it's not really pleasant listening.
Yeah.
Really?
I know that's
Oh,
not the point, but
I love listening to this song.
With-
This was like
Interesting.
the song that I was thinking, like, I've never heard Chance before, really, other than, again, like on stuff like Wall and Out, and I've seen him. But I was like, I thought this would be like his type of music. And when this song came on, I was like, oh, there we fucking go. I really love this song.
Really?
I thought it was hilarious.
Unironically? Okay, so you like it because
No.
you find it hilarious?
I like it for multiple reasons. The beat is hard as hell. The hook at first was kind of like to me, just because it's not like it's like all altered and stuff. But I've grown to actually love that about a lot of songs. I thought the song was just hilarious. I thought it was well delivered. Lyrically, it was on point, and I unironically really loved the song.
lyrically it was on point with such lines as bing, 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 bing.
I thought
I like that line. Okay, you can
No,
shit
I-
on it all you
I do
want, but
too.
I love that when he says, I'll hit you with the 6-piece, then the 6 binks. Dude, I like it.
no, I.
You
It's
should have
funny,
gone with
but I'm
that.
just saying it's not lyrically on point.
Then he says, "I'll choke you with your bling bling, then make you run, or then run faster than tink tink." Like, it's.
I like
thought it
the
was
line
hilarious.
with a diss track from this round in my dick sack in this bitch mouth.
I mean, this song is hype. It's aggressive, and while it's not like special, it discusses hating school, anger, it's hard hitting, and it's just generally funny and a hard hitting track. I don't know. I love it. I thought
I
it was.
agree. It's
I thought it was
funny, but I'm not crazy about it like you two are.
Is there any point in your life when you think you'd relate to this song more than find it funny? Because everyone goes through those periods of angst.
Maybe like freshman year of high school, maybe,
Yeah.
but that's like a stretch even for back then.
This is the type of stuff I used to write. Like, and I mean, even sometimes in the recent years still did, but this is like what I would like to aspire to at that time, especially. So, I mean, for me, it makes sense.
Yeah, there are definitely periods of high school where I would relate to this song, you know? And where I did relate to this song.
Looking at the hook, like when you look at it lyrically, I'm like, oh man, I can see how old white people would hate this. Like,
Dude, I hate it and I love it. Come
I mean,
on.
hearing it sounds fine, but when you look at it lyrically, it's like, oh man, that's kind of brutal.
I will say though, this was never one of my standout songs on the album. This has always been a weak point, but I love listening to it because it's so funny.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, this is definitely the kind of weak point I'd prefer to Juke.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Well, going from that to a complete change of pace, Long Time Part 2.
Sometimes I can't pay for food, cause sometimes I can't think of shit. Where's your head at? Where's your head at?
Which
So
elaborates on the previous version with a couple more verses.
yeah, definitely. And I do like the sort of switch in production, since the new verses add a little bit more to it, and it's more kind of happy. So there's like the really nice piano and the really, really smooth sax throughout.
Yep.
The saxophone really makes the song different, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Chance singing the hook instead of using the sample, you know, that makes a huge difference on the track too.
Definitely.
Which do you prefer, the sample or Chance singing?
Chance. I think Chance has a good voice when he sings, for sure. I think it's much better here.
For me, it's dependent on context. I prefer the first version, just as an overall package. But I do like the second version emotionally.
That's where I stand too. I think sonically the first version sounds better. I like listening to it more. But in the context of the song, when Chance sings it, it packs so much more of an emotional punch.
For sure.
Especially going with the verses in the beginning, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think I really like the use of part one's verse in here, and adds a lot of extra imagery. I think the rapping in verse, the second verse on this one is superior flow-wise, and emotionally, but I still do prefer the original, like you guys said. I just like his singing on this one more, though. I prefer him singing the hook.
I actually prefer Long Time 2 to Long Time 1. Because I really enjoy the third verse. I like his delivery throughout the song.
I could see
where
that's like the game changer.
I really do like the delivery on the first version, but I think I like it a little bit more, just like narrowly edges out on this one.
Okay. Yeah, they're definitely very close, no matter which way you lean. And it doesn't, like, in other albums, I'm not really a fan of reused verses, but it just makes so much sense on this album, and there's enough space between them.
Yeah. And the verses are so good that it doesn't bug me, you know?
Exactly.
You know, I think it does best on your... you guys already knew about it, but I think when a verse is reused and you don't even realize it, because I didn't realize it at first. I figured it was, but I think that's really well done then. I mean, and it doesn't sound like he just copy-pasted it either. It sounds like he redid it.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Which is great. And yeah, that third verse, while I still, again, prefer the first one because of how it sounds sonically, I mean, when he goes, sometimes I can't pay for foods because sometimes I can't think of shit, like...
Yeah.
Those so type of lyrics bring it out more.
And his delivery there, where he's like yelling it, you know? And then, where's your head at? How he sings that next line. Dude, it's just so good.
Definitely.
And the closing, how the song ends, too, is really good.
Yeah, both of them have spectacular outros, for sure.
I also feel like reusing this really adds to the cohesion of the project. I feel like it would feel more like a mixtape than it does if it weren't for this song, you know? This makes it feel like a full project, album that ties together.
Someone took a lot of time to mix that and make it sound beautiful.
Yeah. And they did a great job.
Versus songs like 22 Offs where it's like kind of thrown in there.
Yeah, 22 Offs just feels like a mixtape song, you know? He's just taking a beat he likes and spitting a random verse over it, you know?
And I will say that's different. There are artists and there are songs that even he does that you can just spit over and it still feels like a song, like a well-produced song, but like songs like that on here don't feel like it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can get that. All right. Well, we continue with the heavy hitters, moving on to the penultimate song, Prom Night.
And it's alright, and it's okay, and we're all good when we're homemates. Any problems, you could call us. It's all love, it's all love.
So, in the first verse, at the end, there's these sort of sustained vocal notes. Those are awesome. I love those. And as well as the hook. The hook is spectacular on this.
Yeah. The whole song
like
is
the hook.
spectacular, dude.
Yeah, I do love this song. Don't get me wrong, but those two things are like really, really stand out. And being stand out on this track is like great.
Yeah.
I think it was smart not to overproduce the hook on this and just have one flat vocal layer on it. It made sense to me.
Yeah, for sure.
There's only a little bit of vocal layering in the song.
I also like how this song, along with Hey Ma, which we'll get to, wraps up the school theme of the whole album with, like, it gives you that sense of moving past it, especially after, like, Fuck You Tahm Bout, going from that angsty, school sucks attitude to this almost like looking back on it fondly, you know?
Yeah. And that's really how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you hate it when you're there.
It feels so real.
It does a good job of capturing that, you know?
Yeah.
And even though he's talking about missing his prom night and stuff, it's still like an upbeat and kind of chill song to make you reminisce and put you in a bit of a better mood, I think.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's looking back on it maliciously either. He's talking about this is what could have been, this is what could have happened. But then he talks about at the end, do I regret it though? Not even a little bit. And I think that's really respectable.
Yeah. I love how long the verses are here, you know?
Yeah.
I like how long this song is. Is it the longest on the album? I think it is.
What's it at, 5:30?
Yeah, it's definitely the longest on the
Wow.
album.
It doesn't even feel like that.
Yeah, it flies by because of his verses, I feel. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
they're real
Longest on
long
there.
and they aren't rushed. They're just a nice, even pace to the whole song. Got a lot of good lines in it, too. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic song.
Definitely.
Well,
I'm not going to throw anything negative in here, actually.
if you got something negative to say it.
No, I don't have anything. It was a minor gripe. I was trying to avoid it, but I was going to say his voice is slightly overbearing sometimes on this track. Not overbearing. Let's say overproduced. Maybe like sometimes he sings a little bit more than when he could have rapped the verse a little bit more. Not in a bad way. That's a minor thing though. I was gonna say that I think this song as a whole is definitely one of the best. And it's one of the ones I'll probably listen to the most after this.
For sure.
I get that. All right, well, since we're all in agreement on that one pretty much, the next song is Hey Ma, the final track on the album.
I wanna thank El Bug Mama. I wanna thank Tom Fool Mama. I wanna thank Talent Mama.
So before we get into the outro, the meaty bit, the hook has this bugle on it, and I love the bugle on this hook. It's so good.
Yeah. The reason there's so much trumpet and bugle and stuff like that, just horns on this album, is because one of Chance's best friends is Donnie Trumpet, and they work together a lot. That's not his actual name. I can't remember his actual name right now.
I want to believe that's his actual name, though. He was born for this.
But yeah, they've been collaborating Chance's whole career. They've been friends since like middle school or something like that.
That's
I don't
awesome.
mind it. I think it's a good addition.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
It makes
the
it
trumpet.
unique.
The horns on this whole album, like I said earlier, they're just great. I really like them.
Yeah, for sure.
And they never feel too loud. I notice with a lot of, especially hip hop that uses horns, the horns are just so loud.
What'd you guys think about the context of the song?
It's really nice.
Yeah.
And as an outro track, especially with the like spoken word bit at the end, it's just spectacular. It's really heartwarming.
Yeah. It's just a heartfelt ode to his mom, you know?
Mm-hmm. And
It's
all
really well
mothers.
done.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it when rappers do this, though. Like, we just listened to Tupac's album. He does this. You have Chance's Hey Mama. I really, really like that song. One of my favorite Kanye songs. And then this one. I don't know. I'm just a sucker for that, I guess.
Yeah.
And
I'd
I
also
think for
go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay.
No, you can.
I think for it being the outro is also it makes it hold a little more weight too. Just kind of saying like, hey, all these past tracks, you know, thank you for helping me through it to be able to do this, you know?
Yeah.
He's talking about finally making money despite being a bad kid, bad in school, and how God gave him another chance to shine. So now he's doing what he can to right his wrongdoings. And I mean, it's a very sweet tribute.
Yeah.
I think like one of my favorite things on the entire album is during like really close to the end of the entire album, he says, "I hope y'all had a good time." That just puts a smile on my face.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
He just really hopes people enjoyed his album.
And not even in a like, I'm great kind of way. It's just a very like, hey, I hope you enjoyed what I had to give.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very and again, when I've seen him on stuff, he's always very humble. Seems like a very nice guy as a whole.
Chance is really good at ending his mixtapes.
He's good at, yeah, I feel like everything I've heard from him, it always starts and ends super strong.
Yep.
Would you? I thought I'm gonna just give my opinion rather than asking because I feel like I'm wrong. I thought the female vocals were pretty, but not necessary on the verses. I felt like they were too loud when he was delivering the verses. Like they probably shouldn't have been there at all. I thought.
I can see what you mean.
I like him, though.
Yeah, I like him. I don't think it'd be that big a loss if they were gone. So I kind of see what you mean, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're
I
not
didn't feel so strongly about them.
they're not necessary, but I do like them. Maybe they could have been turned down a little bit, but I feel like it enhances the mood, you know?
Yeah, I don't mind when they're added, but I'm kind of a stickler for levels of a mix, and for me, those were too high. I thought that I would have preferred to just hear his voice, or at least more of his voice.
All right, well, that wraps up the album. Let's move on to overall thoughts. I'll start, since I picked the album. This is probably one of my favorite projects of all time. I want to say albums, but it's a mixtape. And I've been listening to it for years, and it doesn't get old. It's still super good. I love the wordplay. You know, you can discover new stuff when you listen to it more and more, even after all this time I've been listening to it. And I found it really relatable when I was in high school a couple of years ago, you know. I feel like it's a really fun at times and eloquent and beautiful at other times, you know. He does a good job of conveying what that period in your life is like.
Okay,
Making
so
it
really
sound
quick,
good.
for the uninitiated, as you know, I listen to a lot of different things. I'm not just a hip-hop dude. So, what's the difference between a mixtape and an album?
Oh no, I'm just kidding.
That's a tough question. It's like, it doesn't...
It depends on who you
Traditionally,
ask.
what a mixtape is you have samples you can't clear, is basically all that means. Is you would... It can mean so many different things. It can just be an album with, like this, where you can't clear the samples to get it up on services. It can be just that it's given away for free and you don't sell it. It could be that you're not comfortable calling it an album because you don't feel like you're at that point yet. You know, it's just...
I've always thought of mixtapes as more of a collection of songs rather than a coherent theme, and this one kind of proves different. I would consider this more an album if we're going by that standard. I agree with all of what Jonny said. That's usually all do dictate it, but also with some artists, a mixtape is like, these are a collection of songs I've made over the past whatever amount of time, and they throw them together, and they don't necessarily have a theme. They don't have any coherence, and they're just a variety. It's like a mix of songs.
Okay.
That's sometimes what a mixtape is too.
All right.
But
I
it's
see.
sort of like right now, even albums and LPs, I mean EPs, have been getting, there's been arguments about what makes an album and what makes an EP, because with
EPs are shorter.
But with Kanye dropping all these 7-track albums that are 25 minutes,
Let's not talk about that though.
they're albums. That's how they're marketed. Does it matter that they're short,
It's dumb that they market it as an album, but okay.
Why?
Anyway,
Why?
yeah.
They're fantastic. They're albums. They're cohesive. You're wrong.
Oh, I guess the same argument could be made for Illmatic, so I guess
Exactly,
I don't know.
and that's one of the best hip hop albums of all time.
I
10
guess
songs.
10 versus 7's a big difference, though.
One of the tracks is 1 minute. It's like a minute and a half long. 8, 9.
Okay, make it 9. Those 2 songs make a difference.
You're
Anyway.
so wrong. That's so arbitrary. Why do those 2 songs make a difference? See, that's
So
what I'm
what-
saying, though. It's all arbitrary. Especially in
Yeah,
the
it
internet
seems
age,
like it.
the
Doesn't make
categorization
sense
of
anyway.
music projects is entirely arbitrary.
I do
Guess 20
think,
years ago it would make a difference.
So what I always think of as an EP is some tracks that are going to be on an album. That's what I always see as an EP in other genres.
Yeah.
Or that didn't make
That-
the album.
Yeah,
That's true, yeah.
but the Grammys defines EP as, I think, like being under 20 minutes and 5 songs or something like that.
Well, who cares about the Grammys?
Yes, good point, but
That makes sense to me, though.
I disagree.
That
Alright.
one adds up to me.
But yeah, okay, category, like, it's kind of like genres. They're arbitrary,
Yeah.
One person
really
can
matter
feel
when
it
it's labeled.
belongs somewhere else, and it doesn't really change anything. All right, good to know.
Good discussion.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like this album,
Careful what you call it.
it's an album, it's cohesive. Anywho, I feel like it starts and ends super strong. And it does kind of sag in the middle, but it's only for like a couple songs. It's not even that big a deal. But yeah, I really do like this album. The production consistently throughout fits with the themes of each track. And I feel like the peaks and valleys fade into each other really well. There's no like hardline emotional switches. Not really.
Yeah.
All right. I thought Jonny already went, didn't he? I thought this album as a whole, I'd say I liked about like 60 to 70% of it. Like actually liked it, if not loved. And then the other percentages I either tolerated or didn't like, which is still pretty good for me though.
Yeah.
And I thought that I had a hard time trying to categorize this album, mixtape, whatever. Like, times it felt like hip hop, it felt like rap, but other times it's not just his singing voice, it was also just the production, the way it was delivered. It didn't necessarily feel like rap or hip hop. It felt more R&B on its own, which isn't a problem, there's no issue with it. It was just interesting trying to figure out exactly what this is, because his name is Chance the Rapper, but sometimes he doesn't rap like it. And I mean, actually, a lot of the time he's not actually rapping; he's more singing. What?
Nothing. Go ahead. I just said you're wrong.
I mean, it's not like rock singing, but it's also not like rapping in the traditional style. Again, not an issue
Just
with
keep
it.
going.
It's just funny. Wow, you get so testy.
This album's important to him.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to shit on it. I think it's actually a really good album. The hip hop rap beats were great, and his flow and lyrical content were mostly on point, and I really did enjoy them. Even though some of them are a little inconsistent and incoherent, I thought that they were all delivered pretty well.
So what parts aren't rap? Clearly the parts where he's singing like on a hook or whatever, but is the like sort of sing-song rap that he does, is that not rap to you?
No, so that's why I'm saying I had a hard time trying to categorize it, because it is rap. There are several artists I like who do that, and I'm not saying, oh, it's this genre versus this genre. I'm saying it more was those like times where he would stop in the middle of his verse and sing instead and then pick back up rapping. It was creative. It was unique. And there's no good way to categorize it. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
I'm not saying it's any less hip hop or rap than anybody else. It's just I was expecting something. I think my expectations of what this album was going to be and who I thought what he would sound like versus what he does is what changed it for me.
All right, I see.
All right, well then, let's move on to 3 favorite tracks and your least favorite. My 3 favorites is actually the last 3 songs of the album. It's
In that order?
No,
or?
not in that order. Prom Night's my favorite, then Long Time 2, then Hey Ma. There's plenty of other songs that almost cracked the top 3. Like Brain Cells was right there, but
Yeah.
But those are my top 3. Let's do the least favorite afterwards. TJ, your top 3?
My number 1 is definitely Long Time. Just like the emotional punch of the like glass cracking and that sort of middle section and the transition. Just I feel like the song is so well put together, and it's spectacular. It's probably one of my favorite songs ever. It's incredible. After that would probably be Prom Night, and I think third is Brain Cells, but Nostalgia's like right there too, so it would change depending on the day.
All right.
You guys didn't do least favorites?
We're going to do that afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sure we can count to 3 and say it at the same time.
Yeah, okay. My favorite was Fuck You Tahm Bout. I don't know. Everything about that song was wonderful.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I've never seen that turn of phrase spelled out, and it caught me off guard.
I've heard it spoken like that many times, but yeah, spelled out was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was easily my favorite. My second favorite would have been, I'm trying to get the name, Missing You. I thought lyrically that one it just painted such a crazy imagery for me.
Really great song.
Transition was great on it. Yeah. And even though his flow, his slurring on it, I did take a little bit of an issue with, I still understood everything he was saying, so it worked out really well. And then my last favorite one would be Family. I had no issue with that. The sample was great. The instrumentation, the mixing, all the features I thought were fine. So, yeah, love that.
All right. Well, let's go on to least favorite. Let's just do it in order. Juke.
Juke.
I'm tempted to say 22 offs, but I'm going to go Juke too.
It's got to be Juke, dude.
It's so bad.
All right. Well.
All right. That was easy.
Yeah. Pretty easy. That was Chance the Rapper's debut full-length project, mixtape, album, EP, 10 Day. And that next week, TJ gets to pick the album we listen to. So what are we listening to?
So I have 2 in mind. I want you guys to pick 1 or 2.
Why do you got to make things complicated?
Spice things up. Change it up.
I'm going to go 2.
I don't have a coin, otherwise I'd flip it. Yeah, I'll go 2.
All right. 2? Alright, so we're going to be listening to No Love Deep Wed by Death Grips.
I don't know anything you just said.
Death Grips.
No.
haven't listened to Death Grips at all yet. I know of them. The reason I haven't listened to them is honestly because of the fan base.
Yeah, the fan base is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty
I have
abrasive.
no
I
context there.
don't interact with any Death Grips fans at all, and that's pretty intentional. But I'm
they
interested
like a
to
rock
see how you
band,
guys
or-
feel about this. They're kind of industrial hip hop,
Okay.
really experimental. They're a weird one to categorize. You'll see.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so what's the name of it again?
No Love Deep Web.
All right, so next week we're listening to No Love Deep Web. Hope you join us. Thanks. Hope you had a good time.